Hey guys, what's going on? This is Justin with Extreme Health Radio. Thank you so much for visiting this page. We've got a great show with Dr. David Jockers that I want to get onto. But before we get onto that show, or this particular show, I wanted to share with you a couple different products that we really, really like. This show is brought to you by Surthrival. Daniel Vitalis is really taking things to the next level. And if you guys are looking for incredible products that are extremely powerful. Kate and I are going to be making a purchase of his colostrum here in a couple days. We love that product. We've been taking it for a long time, as well as his pine pollen and his deer velvet antler extracts. And if you go over to our store, you can take a look at everything that he's got over there. And we have an interview that we've done with Daniel Vitalis. You can learn more about the pine pollen, the reishi, and the chaga, which are dual extracted, which means that he's pulled out both of the constituents of the herbs with chaga and reishi, which are the king and queen of medicinal mushrooms. So they've done the water extraction, and they've also pulled out the substances from the alcohol extraction as well. It's very, very powerful stuff. The colostrum is incredible for helping build your immune system. It's incredible for leaky gut and helping to restore gut function and gut health. And if you go on to there, you can learn more about Surthrival and learn more about the different products there from Daniel Vitalis. And whenever you make a purchase through our store, we get credit for that. So we really appreciate you guys so much doing this for us and supporting us in this way and buying through our links. So we really appreciate that so much. And this show is also brought to you by Good Morning, Good Evening Qigong, which is an amazing course on moving meditations. And I do meditations a lot every single day, but I also do Qigong, which is a really great way to ground your body and to ground yourself into the earth and bring more presence into your movements. It's like a Tai Chi, but it's more deep than that, and it's an incredible exercise. And if you go onto our store, you can learn more about it. We've done a couple of different shows with Tristan Truscott. You can listen to those, as well as our thoughts about how it's been benefiting our lives, and you can see different pictures of the course. And it's a 10-minute course in the morning and 10 minutes in the evening, and they've got these power sessions that you can go through, and you can ground yourself and really learn about Qigong. And I don't know, I really, really think that this is a great product, and I do it every single day. And it's just awesome. And I highly recommend it to everybody. So go check those out in our store, the Qigong, as well as the Surthrival products. Surthrival's got some amazing stuff. And we really appreciate you shopping through our store. Help support us because that really, really helps us continue our work, buying better equipment and putting out better shows for you guys more often. So we really appreciate you guys that do that. Man, what an amazing thing. We're so blessed and we're so thankful for all of you guys. So thanks for watching this. Enjoy the show with Dr. David Jockers, and we'll catch you guys at the end. All right. I think everything is working fine, right? I never know with these things.
We'll find out in about 2 minutes.
Yeah, can people hear us in the chat room? If you can hear us in the chat room, please let us know. That way we know if we're doing the right thing or not. We appreciate everyone for being here, and we've got Dr. David Jockers on the line today. This is episode 404, I think it is. And
how is that possible?
I know, right? It's crazy. Yeah, I don't know how that's just, time flies, right?
Time flies whether you're having fun or not, which mostly we do have fun, so we're very blessed.
Totally. So we got Dr. David Jockers today, and if you guys aren't familiar with him, his website is drjockers.com, and we're going to be talking about cancer and his work with cancer and his personal story and all kinds of good stuff like that. And we do broadcast live every Friday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific time, so if you guys want to join us, you can do that at extremehealthradio.com/live and share the show with your friends and share the live show in case there's anybody that you know that would want to listen to it. And what else?
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Happy
everybody.
Anniversary.
That's right.
Yeah.
10 years.
10 years. We made it.
We made it 10 years.
Happy 10.
That's awesome, right?
Many more ahead.
That's right. So today we got Dr. David Jockers. Like I mentioned, his website again is drjockers.com. He's a maximized living doctor, corrective care practitioner, nutritionist, exercise physiologist, certified strength and conditioning specialist, and he's got a really awesome clinic there in Kennesaw, Georgia, and he's got his own radio show as well. Just all around great guy. Love what he is doing, and if you follow him on Facebook, you get all kinds of really great updates from his articles on his website, his events that he has there in Atlanta, Georgia, Georgia, and all kinds of really cool stuff. So thank you so much, Doc, for being on the show today.
Hey, so great to be on with you guys, and congratulations on 10 years. My wife and I are still in our first year.
Nice. Yeah, when we talked last, I think you were just had gotten married, right? Last time we talked?
Yeah, we got married in March of this year, and we're now expecting twin boys in late January of this year. So,
whoa, that's awesome.
You guys don't waste any time.
No. I guess that's what happens when you live this lifestyle. She actually had been diagnosed with endometriosis in her 20s and was told that she would have a lot of trouble having a child. But, really following this sort of a lifestyle that we teach and that we live, without really trying to be intentional about it, she was pregnant with twins just like that.
Oh my gosh. I love those stories. I think that's so powerful to share because how many women, it's such a prevalent issue to have this infertility and these diagnoses that just scare the crud out of people.
Absolutely.
Wow. Congratulations to you guys. That's going to be quite an adventure.
You're telling me, twins. When we found that out, we were both just in shock. We're gosh, how are we going to do that? But
wow.
Fortunately, I think, it's awesome to know that we have time to kind of try to figure it out. We've been asking a lot of other parents of twins, just how they handled things, how they set up a schedule for nursing and all of that kind of stuff. And, we feel a lot more prepared.
Wow. Well, congrats. That's huge.
Congrats. It's funny, just last night, Doc, it's funny with all these extreme diets, and it's funny, our show is called Extreme Health Radio, but, it's funny, last night I saw this video of this Australian girl. Have you seen this going around, Kate?
I haven't seen it.
There's an Australian girl who's doing the 30 bananas a day thing, and I think that's all she's eating, and she's, I'm not sure how many months along pregnant that she is, but I don't surmise that your wife is eating 30 bananas a day only during the pregnancy, right?
No, absolutely not. In fact, that's very dangerous for the baby. So not sure why she's doing that, but wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah.
She's going to give birth to an ape or a monkey.
I know, right?
Exactly.
So Doc, I'm on your newsletter list, and for those that are listening, if you want to sign up to the doctor's email list, you can do that, and he's got some good stuff coming out of there. And I think I'm on so many people's newsletter lists, so it's hard to remember. But were you saying in one of your recent emails that you had, because you do a lot of work with cancer, and you work a lot with Ty Bollinger, who had The Truth About Cancer and all this really great stuff. But was it in your email that you talked about your own personal, like a skin cancer issue that you had?
Yeah, that's correct. So I was 27 when I got out of graduate school, opened my clinic, and really I opened it on credit cards. I couldn't get a loan. This is late 2008, early 2009. I couldn't get a business loan, so I opened it on credit cards, and really just worked 16 to 18-hour days. 6, sometimes 7 days a week, just worked like crazy, and had a lot of success. I was helping a lot of people. Unfortunately, I really wasn't taking good care of myself. And even though I was eating probably better than most people and really living a healthier lifestyle than most people, just the fact that I wasn't sleeping well, I was still just being exposed to a lot of toxins, really wearing myself down, creating just extreme adrenal fatigue. My immune system just shut down, and all of a sudden I developed this big nodule on my nose. And my grandfather had died from skin cancer. Metastatic skin cancer is what killed him. And I grew up in Florida, and I was a surfer and on the beach a lot, and got sunburned probably a lot more than most people, and certainly a lot more than what you should during the course of a lifetime. So, I have that risk factor, and I had this big nodule on my nose, and I thought, well, maybe it's just acne, something like that, and thought it would go away. And over a course of 6 months, it just kept growing. And I would look at it every single day in the mirror and just be like, what is that? What is that? And as a doctor, I knew what it was. I know enough to know what's normal, what's not normal. And it just took me some time to kind of take the realization that, I'm not invincible. And I think we have that mentality sometimes when we're young. And I just had to realize, hey, this is the same thing that killed my grandfather. And it was starting to grow, and it was like I could see that there was some angiogenesis, like some blood vessels heading up into it. And I just finally said, I'm like, I got to take inventory of my life and see what I'm doing. And I looked at every aspect, and from my mindset, and what I teach my clients is a 5 essential. It's basically maximize living, which is a 5 essential healthcare paradigm. And first essential is max mind. So I thought, where is my mindset on a regular basis? And really, most of my actions were coming out of a mindset of fear. It was a fear of failure, fear of not living up to my expectations, things like that. And just fear was a driving factor. And so I would work hard. I would work hard, as hard as I possibly could in order to not feel like I failed. And, I really had to come to a realization of that and just really focused on my spiritual life, my spiritual walk, and my identity and who God's called me to be. And that was a huge factor. And then I looked at my nervous system and my spine. And even though I was a chiropractor and I was giving corrective chiropractic care to patients, I wasn't being as diligent as I should have been with my own care and with my own corrective exercises. So I really dug in deep with that. Started driving across town to get specific care on my Atlas, my C1, doing all my spinal exercises. I looked at my nutrition, and even though I was eating an organic-based diet, I was eating way too many carbs and just carbohydrates in general, and I was craving carbs on a regular basis. I would eat a lot of Ezekiel bread and different things like that. And so I took all the carbs out, grain-free, ketogenic, and went on a ketogenic diet for six straight months without any sugar or grains or anything like that, anything that would, in a sense, cause my blood sugar to really rise. And then I looked at my fitness, and I was actually over-exercising. And at the time when this was developing, I was actually living in my clinic, and I was going across the street. I didn't have a shower in my clinic. Going across the street to a 24-hour gym and working out there in the morning and then showering. So I was working out every single day on, sometimes 5 or 6 hours of sleep. And that's just not a good formula for, even though my workouts were short, they were high intensity workouts, it's not a good formula for health and healing. And it doesn't really allow your body to respond and recover, especially when you're a chiropractor or you're doing some sort of like a physical, you're working physically. That is really tough on the body. Yeah. And so I looked at that and I realized, gosh, I'm overtraining. And so fortunately, I was able to buy a small house near my clinic and kind of get out of my clinic a little bit and just really focus on resting more. And then I looked at my toxicity level. And when I was showering in the gym across the street, I was showering in chlorinated water. In my clinic at that time, we didn't have digital x-rays. So I had a x-ray processor with chemicals that I was around all the time. And it was just, in general, there was a lot of toxins that I was around being exposed to on a regular basis. And so I started a process of just eliminating the toxins and getting into a regular strategy of detoxification, cleansing and detoxification. Right. And so I started doing things like Epsom salt baths, dry brushing my skin. I actually started doing some more advanced things like coffee enemas and infrared saunas. And I just started to really, really focus on healing and cleansing. And it was amazing. In about 3 to 4 month period of time, a big gigantic nodule I had on my nose started shriveling up. And I would say by 6 months, you couldn't even see it.
Wow. How big was the thing to start with?
In the beginning, it was the size of a pinhead, and it just started growing and growing and growing. And it was, I don't know, probably the size of, let's say, like the circumference of a pencil tip eraser.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it got really big.
Wow. And you crazy guy, you doing saunas and coffee enemas. That's
yeah. I never got it diagnosed. I never went in to get it diagnosed. but I didn't really feel like I needed to. I knew there was a problem.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to go through any sort of, scare tactics and major treatments and, biopsy and test after test after test. I figured I'd just start getting to work, just getting, doing what I needed to do to correct the cause. And the cause was an accumulation of toxins, a nutrient deficiency, adrenal fatigue, where my body just was shutting down from overworking, and a chronic inflammation. And so I needed to address those things. And through that process, not only was I able to help myself, but all of a sudden, it's kind of this, I think, just how God works, how the universe works. I started attracting a lot of people with chronic disease.
Into your practice or just into your life? Into
my practice overall.
Okay.
And ultimately into my life, because my patients become, in a sense, a key part of my life. So I started attracting a lot of people with chronic diseases and going through the same process with them, getting the sugars, the grains, getting them on a ketogenic diet, lots of superfoods, so lots of phytonutrients. A lot of times when people go on things like a ketogenic diet, they don't get enough phytonutrients. They're eating a lot of animal fats, but they're not getting a lot of plant-based nutrients. And there is a way to do it to where you get tons of phytonutrients and really keep the sugars out and maintain a level of ketosis where your body is able to be fat adapted and run off fatty acids. That's critical with cancer or any sort of chronic disease, because we know, for example, with cancer, we know that cancer runs off of sugar. Sugar is its fuel. And so if we're going to starve cancer, if we're going to heal properly, we've got to restrict the fuel source. So we've got to get our body running off of something different than sugar, which is, in a sense, fat or ketones. And so I started doing that with tons and tons of clients, getting them detoxing, doing different strategies we talked about, things like dry brushing their skin, oil pulling, lots of deep breathing, grounding their body, getting bare feet on grass, dirt, or sand, doing lots of sunbathing in a healthy way to get the biophotons from the sun. Coffee enemas for many of them have been literally, life transforming for many of them. Correcting their atlas and their upper cervical spine, getting that stabilized so their body could heal properly. Infrared sauna. We can go on, just lots of different cleansing strategies. And really, I like to just give people kind of a smorgasbord and say, hey, here's 20 advanced strategies. If you could do 10 of these on a regular basis, you're going to be so much better off. And that way they get to kind of pick and choose, and they get to understand the benefits, the pros and cons of each, and how to start to apply those.
Absolutely. We have a friend in the chat room who brought up something interesting, and I'd love your take on this, as would he, but he said he did a coffee enema yesterday and a cold sore arose, and wanted to know your take on that. To me, that sounds like it's a detox reaction. Do people experience a myriad of things after they go about maybe a first session of doing something more kind of, quote, extreme like that?
Yeah, they definitely can. There's something called a Herxheimer reaction, which is basically where the body starts to dump toxins kind of at a fast pace. And especially if our liver is backed up and our liver's not able to deactivate toxins, we do something like a coffee enema. It stimulates, in a sense, the release of toxins out of our system. And if we're not able to deactivate it fast enough, oftentimes they're going to come out of other regions of our body. And our skin is an eliminatory organ. So sometimes people can develop things like a cold sore. That could be one of the mechanisms. Another mechanism is a cold sore typically is a viral. It's related to viruses. And sometimes when we start to detox, it actually activates viruses. Oh. Particularly because they're trying to lie dormant. In a sense, they're trying to stay undercover and not be found, not be identified by the immune system. And as we start to detoxify, the immune system gets stronger. Sometimes we'll start to attack the viruses, and the viruses, they don't go out without a fight.
Yeah.
So oftentimes they will secrete, they'll create a inflammatory reaction, something like a cold sore at times. So probably one of those two things, either body's dumping toxins faster than it can deactivate them, or it's just a virus that's now being activated.
That's so fascinating. So, Doc, how much do you think is true about the sun? You know how they say, typically conventional knowledge and conventional wisdom is telling people to avoid the sun like the plague, and the sun causes skin damage and all these things. But then you have people on the alternative side saying, like, I was listening to Peter Ragnar a few years back saying, he sunbathes every single day, and he doesn't admit what his age is, which I think is kind of funny, but he seems like a really interesting guy. But he talks about having been laying in the sun his whole life, and cancer, especially skin cancer, is more of an internal issue, not necessarily caused by something like the sun. But there's obviously like a balance, right? Like you said, with your story, what do you think the healthy balance is there for people?
That's a great question. And one thing I just want to tie in for the listener that had the cold sore, taking something like 40 to 60 milligrams of zinc and 2 to 4 grams of vitamin C can be very effective if it's a virus, or really just helping your body to detoxify and help the skin as well. So just simple things. Those are inexpensive supplements that somebody can grab for that. Going back to your question there, Justin, on the sun, really, science is actually starting to show that we're biophotonic beings. What that means is that just like a plant has chlorophyll, and they're able to absorb sun biophotons from the sun and combine that with minerals in the soil as well as water and produce energy, our body is actually able to produce a level of energy through the sun. And it's a powerful frequency that we're able to take on. And so, in a sense, hemoglobin, which is what carries oxygen around our body, is almost the same identical molecular structure as chlorophyll. The only difference is chlorophyll has magnesium, hemoglobin has iron. Mm-hmm. And so green foods, of course, are so powerful for our body. For one of those reasons, that's a key reason. But also the sun itself actually helps charge our body. So it is very healing from that perspective. It's also very good. Getting sun exposure on your skin is actually extremely good for your skin microflora. So there's bacteria and microorganisms on your skin, and good sun exposure has been shown to be one of the best things for helping regulate the microbiota of your skin. And believe it or not, there's actually a crosstalk. This is amazing. There's crosstalk between the microbiota of your skin and the microbiota in your gut.
So wait a second. So there's a communication going on there between the two?
There is absolutely a communication. That's one of the reasons why when somebody eats something that they may have a sensitivity to, like there's people eat dairy and then they break out with eczema. Uh-huh. Right? So there is a relationship and a communication process between the gut microflora and the skin microflora. And so as we regulate our skin microflora, it actually improves the function of our gut microflora. And then we could talk all about vitamin D. And so the UVB rays, certain type of ray that comes out of the sun, helps stimulate the production of vitamin D within our body. And vitamin D is really incorrectly named. We call it a vitamin, but really it acts a lot more like a prohormone, like basically one of the most powerful hormones in the body, regulates over 2,000 genes, which is, a good percentage, 20% or so of our genome. Mm-hmm. And what it does, it actually helps to regulate your immune system. So it helps to coordinate your body's ability to attack pathogens.
Wow.
What that means is, people with autoimmune disease, for example, or chronic inflammatory disease, people maybe with chronic pain, with arthritis, with brain fog, all different types of issues. These are people that are dealing with chronic inflammation. Vitamin D helps coordinate your immune system. So it doesn't attack your own cells and your own tissue, but it's more specific and focused on attacking only pathogenic organisms.
That's fascinating. I was learning about vitamin D, and I think it's I think someone like Dr. Mercola was talking about it. So it's involved, I think you said in 2,000 different genomic processes, but then it's involved in 3,000 different chemical processes in the body as well as the 2,000, and then it helps to break down cholesterol, doesn't it? I mean, it's just incredible. How powerful vitamin D is. How much would you recommend someone take?
Well, with vitamin D, what we want to do, going back to the sun, so if you were to get basically like if a Caucasian was able to get, let's say 20 to 30 minutes of sun on about 60% of your body. So think about summertime, you are at the pool or at the beach for 30 minutes, good intense sunlight on your skin, you naturally are going to produce about 10,000 international units with that.
Okay.
And typically what I recommend is about 1,000 international units per 25 pounds of body weight. And when we look at vitamin D levels, which is one of the most important blood tests somebody could get on a regular basis, I like to see the numbers between 60 and 100 nanograms per milliliter. Now, the medical reference is 32 nanograms per milliliter. So if you are, for example, at 35 nanograms per milliliter, the doctor will tell you that your vitamin D is sufficient, that you have enough vitamin D. And what they mean is that you just have enough vitamin D to protect against rickets and osteomalacia, meaning softening of the bone.
Oh, wow. Similar to what they did with vitamin C levels, right? They did the same exact thing, just enough to sort of not die, right?
Absolutely. So one of the worst things that a doctor has ever told any of my clients is that their vitamin D is good. And I will tell you, I have so many people come to my clinic and I'll say, well, what is your vitamin D level? And they'll say, oh, the doctor said it was good. And they bring in their lab work and I look at it and it's 40 nanograms per milliliter. And what they don't realize is when it's at 40 nanograms per milliliter, they have a 60% greater risk of developing cancer as opposed to if it was at 60 nanograms per milliliter.
Okay.
So for pennies a day, right, or if they have access to good, healthy sun exposure, just getting out in the sun and getting that high quality exposure, or just taking, a very inexpensive supplement, vitamin D3, on a daily basis, they could cut their risk of developing cancer by 60%. By doing that.
Really?
That's huge.
That's massive. 60%.
Huge, gigantic. And vitamin D, like for example, we hear a lot about BRCA gene with breast cancer.
Uh-huh.
And basically vitamin D, the BRCA gene is a tumor suppressor. And what that means is it actually suppresses the growth. So when abnormal cells are developing, it actually stops their ability to reproduce and signals to our enzyme system to either break down the cell or to try to repair the DNA. What happens with people that have a BRCA gene mutation is that they're no longer able to stop cellular mitosis or cell reproduction like that. So therefore these abnormal cells start to grow and there, in a sense, there's no coordination. There's no manager overlooking it. Now, vitamin D comes in and it actually protects against, with a tumor suppressor gene, you have an enzyme that breaks down the suppressor activity. So vitamin D comes in and actually protects against the enzyme breaking down the suppressor activity. What that means is you now have your tumor suppressor gene intact.
I see.
So somebody with a BRCA gene, the most important test they really should be getting is their vitamin D, right? So, we hear a lot about people getting prophylactic mastectomies, kind of like Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, that's a big one.
She popularized that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, in all of her interviews, and I've listened to a couple of them online and also read a couple articles on it. Not once did she say anything about vitamin D.
No.
So what that means is that none of the doctors told her about vitamin D, yet they did something as invasive as take out her breasts and her ovaries. To me, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Vitamin D is so natural, and just getting out in the sun on a regular basis, it's just so innate. It's like our ancestors were out in the sun on a regular basis, getting good quality sun exposure.
Yeah,
and
it makes a lot of sense.
Obviously, we don't want to burn. That's key. We don't want to sunburn. So we want to get good sun exposure, but not too much. There's the equilibrium, just like almost everything in life.
Here's a couple interesting questions. Someone in the chat room asked if they can get sun exposure indoors through a window to up your hormone D. Do you know about that?
You can, as long as the window doesn't have a UV blocker. Like a lot of car windows have UV blockers on them.
Okay.
They have a specific patent that, in a sense, blocks the UV rays, because most people are afraid of UV rays.
Right.
So your typical white windows, you should be able to get vitamin D exposure from that. And one way you'll know is if you mildly tan from the sun exposure, then to a degree, I mean, you're getting some vitamin D.
I like that.
People want to know too if you is there such a thing as taking too much vitamin D3 supplement, and could it be toxic at some point?
Yes, there definitely is. It's just hard to do. Mm-hmm. And so,
because we're so deficient.
Toxicity. In the literature, there's never been a case of vitamin D toxicity symptoms until somebody had well over 200 nanograms per milliliter. So I was talking about getting a range between 60 and 100. So I always tell people the upper limit I'd ever want to see would be 150 nanograms per milliliter. In order to get that, like somebody like myself, I'm 160 pounds, so about kind of like average size of American. I would have to probably take about 20,000 to 30,000 international units for 6 months to a year.
Oh, wow.
Get that. To get anywhere near that.
Wow.
That's a lot. It's a high dose.
That's a huge dose. I think we take, 5,000? We take 5,000 milligrams a day?
Yeah. So 5 to 10,000 a day will never get you in that range.
Awesome.
Okay.
And there is a time and a place where I'll put people on 20 to 30,000 international units, but it's for a period of time.
Right.
And it's usually because their levels are like 12 or 20. And I want to get them up to 60 to 100 in, 30 to 90 days. So I get them on a higher dose for a period of time.
Nice.
That makes sense. Before we branch off to another question, I always want to ask people, and I'll ask your opinion. I've never asked a doctor on the show before, but in your opinion, do you think genetic testing is something that's really beneficial to know working with patients? Or do you think it's that kind of thing where it's, we don't really need that info to get you healthy, knowing what we know for the average person?
Yeah, for the average person, I don't think we need it. I mean, I really don't. However, because I love technology and innovation, I love genetic testing. There's a very inexpensive test anybody can get. It's 23andMe. It is a saliva test, so it's non-invasive. You order it, it's $99. Send it to your house. You spit in a tube, send it back, and they give you this raw data. And the raw data, you'll just be like, you'll just be so overwhelmed by it.
Right.
Then you can go to another website called, I think it's Genetic Genie. And for free, I think they ask for a donation, so give them $10 or something like that. And they actually convert the raw data into data that you can synthesize.
Nice.
You could look at things like many of the listeners may have heard of the MTHFR gene.
Right.
Which has to do with methylation. So you can look at things like that, and it's very, very fascinating. And what everybody has to realize is your genes do not dictate your destiny. They don't. In fact, we know that epigenetics, or the environment the genes are in, are what's going to be the greatest factor in dictating your destiny. What that means is if you overstress your system and your body is toxic and deficient, you're going to express genes that are going to lead to poor function, abnormal function in your body. But if you keep your body strong and healthy, you keep your mind healthy, you keep your body free of toxins or as free as possible, you eat a very nutrient-dense diet, you keep sugar under control, you take care of your body, then you're not going to express abnormal gene activity, at least not for, a good portion of your life, 90, 100 years of your life.
So the name of the game is to not express the gene in the first place, rather than have it expressed and then try to undo it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So that's what you want to do, is really focus on the healthy lifestyle. Now, is a time and a place. The only time that I would really, really recommend people take their genes extremely seriously is if they do have a chronic disease, and only do it working with a functional medicine practitioner, somebody like myself that is trained in genetic testing and knows how to walk people through specific lifestyle strategies that work with unique gene patterns.
It's something you were saying sense. A while ago.
It'd be really confusing.
Yeah. And it's something that was really cool that you were saying, in your own story was, was I really liked how you were talking about how you did not go to get a diagnosis. And because, a lot of times if people go, even if they go to a functional diagnostic nutritionist or a chiropractor or someone, even if someone's alternative, people can really be, get a sort of a secondary illness or a secondary virus, or, this whole idea of the diagnosis is such a amazingly powerful thing that gets put right on top of the existing disease that someone has. And then you start going, okay, you used a good word the other day, a fear. What was it? Someone, I forget the name, the word you used, something about of someone chasing fear or something like that in terms of a doctor, because doctors can really scare you.
Yeah.
It's
so true. Like my mindset was, I know I haven't been taking great care of my body. I just need to start taking care of my body.
Yeah.
I don't need to find out what it is.
Right.
I just need to start taking care of it.
And you knew that.
That's mentality.
Yeah, you knew it. And so why go after a label, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, labels can definitely mess with people. Mm-hmm. I don't remember saying that, but I'm sure it came up in a conversation about how almost as like, I think it was the conversation we were having maybe a couple weeks back. Mm-hmm. Yeah, about how almost people want to chase. They want to chase the fear. They don't know that they're doing it, but they don't rest until they kind of know, quote, what's wrong with them. And I still have people all the time in my life, or listeners email me in and say, what was your diagnosis? What did it end up being?
The official diagnosis.
Chronic health problems we've had. And I go, yeah, right. Nothing official, but it's like a human nature to want to like chase this fear. It's really strange.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It's bizarre.
Yeah, and there's a huge rate of false diagnosis too, false positive diagnosis in the medical community. Right. And the reality, like especially you look at something like cancer, for example, and what we know is that you could actually live a very long time with cancer in your body, with a tumor in your body. The key is the growth rate of the tumor. If it's growing fast, then it's a threat to your life. If it's not, then it's not. And far too often in the medical community, there is like once the diagnosis is made, there's urgent attempt to treat it immediately. Mm-hmm. And the urgency of that creates, in a sense, a negative placebo effect, right? So like a placebo effect is one of the greatest healing strategies by, in a sense, telling somebody you can heal, your body can heal itself.
Yeah.
And giving them confidence, believe it or not, that is one of the greatest healing tools they can possibly have. Yet science can't quantify it, so we call it the placebo effect. Mm-hmm. And so when you tell somebody you've got, whatever it is, stage 4, cancer, you've got this, you've got that, we need to start treatment immediately. We need a biopsy. We need this, we need that. That level of urgency creates incredible fear in the individual, which creates more stress. And we know that stress reduces our immune capabilities, right? Reduces our body's ability, our macrophage, basically what's called our phagocytic index, or the ability of a white blood cell called the macrophages, ability to scavenge abnormal cells. So by going in, getting that diagnosis and having that level of urgency affect our physiology, that alone already is setting us back in our ability to get well.
So, okay.
Yeah, I just agree with that. I feel like it creates spontaneous decisions that people in a different state of mind wouldn't necessarily make. And I think that's what's really disturbing about the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I try to tell my clients, if they're feeling suspicious about something, certainly they can get tests, but having their mindset right is the first thing.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
And like for myself, I looked at it as, hey, this challenge is actually a setup. Like your tragedy is your testimony.
Right.
And it's taking this kind of powerful mindset, and it's just really the mindset of a victor, of an overcomer, champion. And it's like the hero's journey. The hero in every story encounters tremendous amount of trial. And the reality, they're a hero because they were able to overcome the trials.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And every one of us is really a hero, and we're on our hero's journey.
That's that book, right? Joseph Campbell?
Yeah.
It's a great book. I love that book.
And so So for me, when I had the diagnosis, it was like, yeah, it was scary, and it was like, it was also at the same time for me, it was humbling. And It was humbling in a really good way, and it was going back to that hero's journey mentality of, hey, this is my journey, and this is the next challenge in my life that's going to help elevate me to the next level. And if there's any listeners that are dealing with this, I really invite you to take that mentality towards this.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. It seems like you just nailed the word, and you invite people. It's an invitation to sort of practice these things without going into that fear mode. I remember the first time I heard the very idea of being able to heal yourself without reacting out of fear. And it was by that book, or what was it? Lissa Rankin, Mind Over Medicine.
Oh, right.
And it just blows your mind. When you start to think you have different options, your whole world just changes. How you live daily and how you can charge through the fear. And I'm not saying everyone's, we're all going to have different situations, but the first time I heard it, it was a really mind-blowing kind of a new concept. And that's why we do what we do, all of us, to put it out there to the world and show people,
it's possible.
It is possible. Anything's possible.
Mindset is huge. I mean, I was listening to someone recently just talk about, if you had a tumor, if your body had a tumor that was cancerous, and they were talking about where would you be, and how would you react, and how would you feel if someone were to tell you that tumor is not cancerous. And and for people that have tumors in their bodies, they would most likely just breathe a sigh of relief, just knowing that nothing in that tumor is dangerous. It's just a fatty lipoma or something like that. And so it's the power that these labels have over our health, our psyche, and in turn our stress levels. And then when your stress levels get changed and start increasing, everything that you were talking about, Doc, starts happening, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, it just really starts with trying to be in touch with your body and being really honest and humble with yourself, and ask yourself, have I been taking the best possible care of my body with the knowledge and information that I have right now at this point?
Good question.
And if the answer is no, that you haven't been, then you know what you need to do.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, whether you have a diagnosis or not, your body's either building health or it's building disease. And, it comes down to just having the mentality of, hey, I'm going to prioritize my health, and I'm going to make sure that every day I'm creating a strategy that is sustainable. There's a million things you can do for your health, and you don't have to do all a million things, fortunately.
Right.
Thank God. But there are key essentials. And it's a matter of creating a sustainable lifestyle, strategies that you can do on a regular basis to provide the full nutrient sufficiency, to get rid of the toxins, to minimize your exposure to toxins. And that includes toxic thoughts, to really just set yourself up for success. And the benefits of that are that every day you'll notice you have more energy, that you sleep better at night, you get sick less often, you have less pain, that you're able to learn things, your memory improves, every aspect, your physique improves, your skin tone improves, you get better looking. There's a lot of benefits to it that you get along the way. And then, of course, greatest benefit is, hey, preventing chronic disease and really living life at your highest level.
Yeah, it's cool because a lot of times people think in our culture, I think we've been sold this bill of goods that, there's a doctor for your knee, and there's a doctor for your toe, and there's a doctor for your heart and for cancer. There's all these different doctors for different things. And although that's true, there are different doctors for different things. That doesn't necessarily mean that the body doesn't work as a single unit, as a single organism. And so, if you are going to be on a anti-cancer sort of protocol, you're also going to be fixing metabolic processes that could cause heart attacks or heart disease and all kinds of other issues, right? So it's not just a singular thing.
Yes. Oh, without a doubt. So being a holistic being, that is what's awesome about it, is that when you take care of your immune system, every system in your body improves. For example, the gut and the immune system are intertwined. You can't improve your digestive system without improving your immune system, and vice versa. You improve your immunity, you're going to improve your overall, the health of your gut. And so all of these things work together. And the great thing is the better your immune system is and the better your gut is, the better your skin will be, that you'll have more shiny, radiant skin. And therefore you look better, right? Which gives you more confidence. And, it's like we could take every single system and they all work together. So in life and health, you can get better and better and better. Like my memory, I feel like, is better now than it's ever been. My skin complexion is better than it's ever been. And it's like when you have a sustainable cleansing and nutritional strategy, like a consistent program that you're following that's sustainable, you get better and better and better.
How often do you do coffee enemas these days?
These days, I really don't do them. And so I did them, pretty intensely for a period of time, and I don't do them anymore. And I will probably go move my bowels, 3 times a day. And just everything comes out within like a 12 to 18 hour period. And that's one thing that I try to now, if somebody is feeling good and they've got good energy, they don't necessarily need to do coffee enemas every day. Coffee enemas to me are an advanced healing strategy. I never found them comfortable. So some people tell me they do. That was never the case for me. They take time and stuff like that. However, they were a powerful part of my healing strategy. However, one thing we need to do with our bowels is we need to make sure that anything we eat, so if we ate lunch, for example, like in the East Coast here, it's 12:49. So if somebody's eating lunch now, that should be out of their system certainly by 12 o'clock tomorrow, and ideally by 8 a.m. tomorrow, or if not before 6 a.m. You want to get everything out of your system without a doubt within 24 hours. And if you can do it within 18 hours, then it's even better, because you allow for less putrefaction and less bacterial overgrowth on the foodstuffs. And so we got to be moving things through our system. So if you're somebody that doesn't move things through as quickly, coffee enemas will really help. They'll also really help with liver detoxification as well.
What are your thoughts on like a yearly colonic? People have been asking about that.
Yeah. I think that's a great idea. I think colonics are fantastic. Colonics and coffee enemas don't get to an underlying root cause. If you have a digestive disorder, they don't necessarily get to the cause, but they can be very helpful in the process of, in a sense, clearing things out. So that way you can re-heal and seal your gut.
Makes a lot of sense.
Microflora in there.
What are your thoughts on people getting diagnosis? I know there's a lot of talk these days, people getting diagnosis, and the medical. I'm sorry, not diagnosis. My mistake. Biopsies. People are really talking about biopsies, and I've heard conflicting ideas about this, especially in the alternative world where they talk about the cancer cells spreading throughout the bloodstream and the dangers of biopsies and these types of things. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so biopsy, they stick a needle. They basically stick a scalpel in there, stick a needle in there to grab a sample. And when they do that, they break the tissue. And that tissue can absolutely release abnormal cells with metastatic potential that will then get into the bloodstream and spread to different areas of the body. So there's literature out there that talks about biopsies increasing the risks of metastasis. So personally, I already told you guys what I did and what I believe. And it really comes down to, like, chronic disease to me is not random. Perhaps for some people, if they had a congenital disorder, that could have been random, but ultimately it came down to, unfortunately what mom was exposed to, whether she knew it or not. However, a disease that we develop over time, like cancer, is not random, and we've got to really ask ourselves the deep questions of, hey, what led to this? Like, what could have created this? Where am I out of balance with my health? And then start to turn those areas around.
I understand. And don't they say that typically that the cancer on average grows for about 7 years or something before they're even able to diagnose it?
Yep. So before a diagnosis can be made, the cancer cell itself has to be between 4 and 10 billion cancer cells before they can see it on something like a mammogram or feel it on a prostate exam or something along those lines. So 4 to 10 billion cancer cells with the average rate of cell reproduction, that takes 8 to 15 years to develop.
Wow.
So cancer is something that is developing in all of our bodies. Every one of us is developing between 100 and 10,000 cancer cells every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Naturally, our immune system should be regulating those abnormal cells. And so it's when our immune system becomes weakened through an accumulation of toxins, through key nutrient deficiencies, now we start to get these abnormal cells growing.
Interesting.
And now we have problems.
So what happens in the case where little kids are getting cancer? I mean, obviously they haven't been alive on the planet long enough to have this, back history and grow these tumors or these cells and things. Are they getting that? How is that happening? Is that passing down? I mean, is this like a...
Yeah. There was a study that was done in 2005, and they took the umbilical cord blood of 10 newborn babies. And you would think the umbilical cord blood, the child has never been exposed to the environment. It should be pure.
Right.
What they found was that the average of the 10, so the average number was 287 toxic chemicals that they found.
287.
287. Over
Whoa.
200 of those, 208 of them are known to be carcinogenic. So what that means is like 287 chemicals we know are toxic for the body.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So they could have found a lot more chemicals, but it was that's what they know. And so what that means is that children are not born pure anymore. They're born toxic and damaged.
Mm-hmm.
Those toxins are interfering with their development, with their genetic development, with their immune development, and in a sense, turning on abnormal genetic pathways at an earlier and earlier age.
I suspect there's some sort of connection. I just think, I don't know, intuitively, just my guess from talking to a lot of different people, with a child that's been diagnosed, with a child that's got on average 287. That's just average, so there could be more or less. But a child that has that, I gotta think that the exposure to the dirty electricity and the EMFs and people putting these cell phones near their kids or the bellies and things. I mean, it seems to me there's got to be some sort of connection between that and I think it's leukemia. Isn't leukemia sort of the most prevalent childhood cancer?
Yeah, leukemia is I believe it is, and then brain tumors as well are on the rise. Glioblastoma brain tumors with children, and there is a definite correlation between glioblastomas and cell phones, and so also repeated ultrasounds. There's some thought that repeated ultrasounds can have problems too. Like my wife and I, we were only going to get one ultrasound for during her pregnancy, just to make sure everything was okay, right? So we'd know the sexes. Now we have friends that have gotten 0 ultrasounds.
Wow.
We're thankful we did, because we wouldn't have known that we would have had twins.
Oh, no way.
Didn't hear 2 heartbeats, so it was intelligent.
That's awesome.
Now, a twin birth is a higher risk birth.
Right.
So we're getting multiple ultrasounds. In fact, she's in today getting an ultrasound.
Okay.
So I think we're getting, 3 altogether. Which we didn't want to do, but we understand why our doctor wants us to do that. And we were going to do a home birth, but first birth, twin births, we can't. So change our plans. But in general, I tell parents, get one ultrasound, that's it. Because the sound waves affect the baby's development process. And the development of the baby is such a critical time. And when anything is out of place during critical periods of development, there's no going back in a sense, right? The baby is, to some degree, has some level of permanent structural malformities that take place, whether it's in areas that you can see, like a bony abnormality, or areas you can't see, like a brain or a liver or something like that, or a heart. You can't necessarily see it from the outside. So it's that much more critical to really make sure that mom is healthy, she's in a safe environment as much as possible while the baby's developing. Chronic stress, like, for example, a single mom, or, a bad relationship with her husband or with her boyfriend or something like that, can be a detrimental factor, in a child developing abnormally. Being around electrical wires, electric poles and things like that has been shown to be a significant risk factor. Spraying pesticides on your yard has been shown to be a significant factor. And, most middle-class families that own their homes are spraying pesticides. They've got people spraying pesticides on their yards on a regular basis, and they're going out and they're breathing that.
Right.
These are all major risk factors. The average individual, we talked about kids, the average individual living today is carrying a minimum of 700 known toxins in their blood, their skin, fat tissue, brain tissue, liver, digestive system, in our body, 700 known toxins.
How many of those do you think are carcinogenic, or are all toxins carcinogenic in some way if they're given enough time?
Given enough time and research put into them, I would say that all synthetically derived chemicals are going to have some level of oncogenicity, meaning they're going to help stimulate and form abnormal cells, proteins.
What's interesting too, I find, and I think there's something to this, is what are those little baby monitors now? They're doing video with the baby monitors too, and I've heard that there is quite a lot of electromagnetic, EMF pollution being broadcast and signaling from the little monitor above the baby, and I think people are waking up to this though.
All of that plays a role. It all affects the baby, and there's a theory called the bucket theory. And I really buy into this here. I think it really explains what we're looking at. Our body can handle a certain amount of stress and toxicity, right? Our body is phenomenal at adapting. We have incredible restorative, reparative systems within us. And to some degree, a level of toxicity is one of the healthiest things we can be exposed to. For example, we know that kids that grow up on farms that are exposed to dirt and dander, pollen and dust, they actually have stronger immune systems because of the exposure than kids who grew up in a sterilized environment. So to some degree, it's very healthy. However, when you look at the bucket theory, we know that we have a bucket and our body has holes in that bucket. And the holes are our detoxification systems, like our colon, our liver, our skin, which helps detoxify, our respiration, which helps detoxify. These are how we get toxins out. And then, of course, we've got exposures, right? So whether it's EMFs, whether it's pesticides, different things like that, household cleaning agents, all these types of things, those are going into the bucket to fill it up. So, if the bucket's half full and it's maintaining at half full, we're not going to be developing disease, right? If we're getting rid of the toxins as they're coming in a sense, then we are doing good. Right? If we've got strategies to help us with that, we're going to do good. It's when we have an abnormal ratio, we're not able to expel the amount of toxins that are coming in. And over time, they just continue to bioaccumulate. And then all of a sudden, the bucket overflows. And when the bucket overflows, that's when we have the chronic symptoms.
Yeah, I've heard Dr. Hal Huggins, the famous biological dentist, his whole thing was, there's no way to really completely hide yourself and shield yourself from these kinds of chemicals that are in our our environment every day. So his whole thing was just as long as you have more going out than you have coming in, then that's where you want to be. And that's exactly what you were just talking about.
Yeah, that is the critical factor. Is we've just got to make sure we're getting them out. What I teach people is really a cleansing strategy, and I call it my Cancer Cleanse program. And it's this idea that we do this on a daily basis. We do these kinds of activities on a daily basis to make sure we never get cancer. But if we did have cancer, it would be the same thing. We're following the same strategies. So we don't let the diagnosis change, in a sense, what we're doing. It may give us a greater level of urgency. And to some degree, that can be helpful, right? Because urgency can give us greater motivation, inspiration. But really, we're doing this on a regular basis to make sure we never end up developing chronic disease. And so we start by doing things like green juicing, right? So we've got to make sure that we're getting a lot of phytonutrients in our body in order to deactivate toxins. So we need phytonutrients in order for our liver to be able to deactivate the toxins that are coming in. That's key. We got to make sure that we're keeping our blood sugar stable. So we use a low sugar diet. I was talking earlier about ketogenic diet. So a low sugar, high good fat diet. And there's specific strategies with that I teach in order to help the body, have stronger immune function. So when blood sugar is stable, cancer cells don't have their preferred fuel. The immune system is able to function at an extremely high level. And we're able to, in a sense, kill off abnormal cells. We want to make sure that we are opening up making sure that our gut is moving well, that we're making sure that we're eliminating toxins through breathing, respiration. So we really focus on deep breathing, that we're eliminating toxins through our skin. And we can do that easily with things like dry brushing, right? And a lot of women are familiar with exfoliating. So like exfoliating your skin or dry brushing your skin. And we should turn over our skin cells every single day, basically, our outer skin cells. And dry brushing really helps with that. It also helps move our lymphatic system, which is the system in our body. It's basically our second circulatory system. And it helps move waste products through our body. And a lot of people have very stagnant lymphatic systems. And that's a major risk factor developing chronic disease. So dry brushing can be really helpful for that. And it feels really good. It stimulates endorphins, which makes you feel good, which improves your immune system. So we do that. Things like Epsom salt baths can be really helpful. Using things like essential oils, that's plant-based medicine, very powerful strategies, particularly using like lavender in the evening time to help you relax, peppermint perhaps like in your water in the morning, or lemon in water, very good for your digestive system, very good for your liver. Frankincense essential oil, extremely powerful anti-inflammatory. And so there's lots of stuff coming out about frankincense being really good for like different types of cancers like brain cancer. So doing different strategies like that, eating superfoods, super hydrating the body. So getting a lot of water into the system, because your urinary system is one of the most important ways to detoxify. Is in a sense, you gotta pee your way to good health. That's what I try to teach my clients. You gotta pee your way to good health. So a lot of clients, and I'm sure you guys have experienced this, you start giving people health tips, and a lot of my clients will tell me, well, I feel better, but I've got to pee all the time. And I'm always like, thank God, because we know that there's 700 toxins in your system, and we've got to start eliminating that number. Right. So urinating them out is one of the key ways to do that. So the Cancer Cleanse program that I've built is really just takes all these strategies, puts them together, and kind of lays them out in a way where people can pick and choose the ones that they feel resonate the most with them, that they feel like, this is the one that I feel like I really need. I want to follow these several strategies. I want a green juice on a regular basis. I want to follow this specific nutrition plan in order to get the most nutrients, the least amount of toxins, and to stabilize my blood sugar. I'm going to do, coffee enemas, let's say, or maybe I'm going to infrared sauna and start using that in order to get more toxins out through my skin. Or, I don't have the money to do it, to get a infrared sauna. So I'll dry brush and I'll do an Epsom salt bath, which will help me get toxins out through my skin. So they start to pick and choose different strategies that they're going to apply in order to reduce their toxic load. And now basically watch the bucket start to, the toxic load in the bucket start to go down.
And so it makes a lot of sense that something like this would be a long-term approach. People, want to have these quick fixes, and they want to go in and get, talk to their doctor, and they want to go and see that the tumor shrunk a certain amount. But what you're talking about is a prevention protocol as well as a long-term approach. If you do have cancer, that you're going to be working on a daily basis to sort of chip away at this thing in small chunks and building strategies and being comfortable with those strategies.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. A very, very fast detox can be extremely uncomfortable and can be hazardous for people. So starting to take it kind of at their own pace, right? And starting to apply strategies that they can fit into their life that are going to really help them on a daily basis and going that long-term route is really the best route for long-term success.
I feel like we're all these little health superheroes walking around, and you're wanting to activate stuff and deactivate others, and it's kind of cool. You get like almost like a checklist, like you said earlier. You can pick certain things that you want to add in, and then you can pick other things that you want to get out. And it's kind of neat that everyone's so individualized. We can kind of come up with our own list, and I just find that really fascinating, because what works for some people doesn't work for others, or they're not drawn to it.
Yeah, that's right. And I think one of the big things is just really trusting your own body. The greatest doctor in the world is within you. It's not me. It's not, some guy in India, some guy at, Harvard Medical. It's really within us.
Right.
And listening to our body and listening to the messages and our intuition, in a sense, seeking out the best advice we can, finding programs and different things like that are going to teach us the information we need to know, but ultimately listening to our bodies. And listening to the way our bodies react and respond to different things is one of the best things you can do in order to create a sustainable long-term program to maximize your health.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I was listening to something recently, somebody talking about cancer, and he was talking about cancer, and he was explaining like the cancer stem cells, and he was talking about how the tumor cells typically aren't the actual problem with most cancers. It's the stem cells that continually divide and continually grow. And he was kind of gave an analogy. It was really interesting of like if you're walking outside of a bar at night and there's a fight, typically two people are fighting, but there might be a crowd of people around them, 10, 15, 20, 30 people watching two guys fight. And the problem isn't the people that are watching the fight. The problem is the two guys that are fighting. And he mentioned about how the cancer stem cell, the chemotherapy, he was talking about how chemotherapy actually it kills the tumor cells, but it angers. It doesn't kill the stem cells. It sort of angers the stem cells. And that's why a lot of people will have the cancer grow back after they have chemotherapy, because the tumor shrinks, but the actual stem cells of the cancer get angry and they start multiplying and dividing because the chemotherapy doesn't actually kill the stem cells. I thought that was really a fascinating way of looking at it.
Yeah, really, really fascinating. And I think that was Sayer G that talked about that. And that's so true. And chemotherapy, in a sense, like the body is so intelligent, and stem cells are so intelligent, cancer cells are so intelligent. They can adapt. When you give them, in a sense, a monotherapy or one type of therapy, they're going to adapt to that therapy. Mm-hmm. So it's, in natural medicine, I guess you could say, the cool thing is when you start adding in lots of different types of superfoods and super herbs, you've got so many different compounds that have proven efficacy against cancer stem cells. Mm-hmm. And if you only did one, like if all you did, you ate a bad diet and all you did was take garlic capsules or eat 3 cloves of garlic every single day, eventually the cancer stem cells would adapt to that and they would develop a level of resistance to it. However, if you're eating a diet full of all different types of phytonutrients, there's no way they can adapt to it. You're, in a sense, you've got hundreds, if not thousands, of powerful compounds that are acting against the cancer stem cells coming at it. Mm-hmm. And it's so much deeper, in a sense, than just a singular monotherapy, or sometimes in medicine, they'll use a couple therapies like a radiation, a chemotherapy, maybe like a tumor suppressor drug. They might use 3 things. Mm-hmm. As opposed to doing that, if you were to consume, like if you make a green juice and you've got dandelion greens in there, you've got some turmeric root, you've got some ginger root, you have got green apple, you've got parsley, spinach, and lemon, let's say. Mm-hmm. You do something along those lines. I mean, right there, you've got probably 100 different compounds that are all going to act on those cancer stem cells. There's no way they can adapt to that many compounds that quickly. So the dosage, though, if you were to, in a sense, drink as much green juice as what the chemotherapy, in a sense, the load of poison the chemotherapy has, you'd want to drink, in a sense, 32 to 64 ounces of green juice. So if somebody were to get on a juicing regimen, right, along with doing some other strategies like a ketogenic diet, intermittent fasting, and doing some of the cleansing strategies we talked about, I mean, that's as powerful, if not more powerful, on the actual tumor as the chemotherapy. And then on top of that, it's way more effective on the actual stem cells. Prevents against adaptation. That's my dog.
Sounds like our house usually.
I love it. Sounds like our house.
Yeah.
I think we have another question from the chat room.
I just have one last thing to say. Someone in the chat room brought up this really interesting point, and they said, if cancer cells are so smart, why are they undermining themselves by killing the host? Parasites, now they're smart. And when you think about it, that's so true, because cancer is going to kill you off and then they're going to die with you. But parasites, it's true, they live off you. And it's so funny, this sort of intelligence these things have is just weird.
Yeah, I would say it's kind of like this. It's the cancer cells are kind of like a selfish child. A selfish child wants everything for him or herself and to the detriment of themselves. And so ultimately, a selfish child develops kind of a mentality of entitlement that to a degree really restricts their ability to succeed later in life. And that's kind of the way that a cancer cell is. A very selfish cell that's no longer listening to the commands of the brain, right? The parents, I guess you could say, and is now just doing its own thing, taking as much of the resources from the body as possible. And then ultimately, when it ends up, when the body is sick and dying, it still hasn't learned its lesson. And whereas, again, a parasite obviously is something that's living and surviving and feeding on the host. Ultimately, even for the parasite, killing the host is not typically the end goal. But with microorganisms, their job though is to break down decaying matter. That's kind of what they do. They break down decaying matter. That's what allows the cycle of life.
Right.
Whereas, if we didn't break down decaying matter, we just have dead bodies floating everywhere. So they have a job to break down decaying matter. Our job is to not be decaying matter.
Let's fight death as long as possible.
That's right. To be vibrantly alive matter.
Right.
Right.
To be matter that's vibrating at such an extraordinary level that the microorganisms realize, hey, we want to work with this body and break down the food and allow for optimal digestion. And we're not going to really mess with, the actual tissue cells of the body.
That makes sense.
One last thing I have to say, how much do you stinking love those brownies on your website? Those look incredible.
What? Is that a new recipe on this website?
It's a friend of yours, right, that came up with these?
Yep. The question is which ones? We have several different
your
ones.
Friend Megan Kelly. That looks amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you, there's so many great recipes that we have. My wife has been making these lemon, cinnamon, coconut cream cups. So we make them with lemon, cinnamon, and then also there's turmeric cream cups. Yeah. Those are fantastic.
I saw those.
Chocolate cream cups too. If you see those.
No, where are those? Let me bring those up.
Yeah, there's no sugar in these. They're made with coconut butter, stevia, different herbs like chocolate and stuff like that. They taste great. We keep them in the freezer. I pop them out, pop them in my mouth.
Oh, man.
They taste amazing.
What are those ones called?
You'll see the coconut chocolate cream cups.
Oh, coconut chocolate. Okay. I'll do a search here. Okay.
There's also turmeric cream cups as well.
I saw those. They both look phenomenal.
Really, there's also, we also made a healthy Oreo.
I saw that too. Oreos. Are those amazing?
Oh, they're unbelievable.
Oh my gosh. You guys have some amazing recipes. I mean, I'm not kidding. This stuff looks...
Are you guys making those things, or are people submitting those recipes to you, or what's the deal there?
My friend Megan, she's got a great website, Renewing All Things. So she's out in Colorado, and she specializes in these recipes. And I'll tell her in a sense, like, hey, can you make a couple of these recipes here? And she goes ahead and makes them. So she makes them. My wife also makes some of these recipes. Wow. And oftentimes my wife will make some of the recipes that, I used to make a lot of recipes back when I was single, but now that I'm married, I've kind of delegated that. She's taken that over. We'll experiment with different things. In fact, we're actually going to be shooting some recipe videos here next month for a sugar detox and a ketogenic diet program that we're going to be rolling out. In our cancer program, we do have some videos. We have a video of making a liver cleansing green juice, kind of similar to what I was talking about earlier. So we do have a couple great recipe videos in that program as well. But we want to do more of those.
How many videos do you have in the cancer cleansing protocol?
It's a little over 25 videos.
Wow, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
And so these are sort of videos in the same way that you would sort of educate people that come to you if physically, you put them on this almost the exact same program, but you're able to do it through video nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. So what I've tried to do, it's, in a sense, people have paid me thousands of dollars to really coach them through this kind of protocol. Mm-hmm. But I realize that most people don't have the resources to pay me what they need to pay me in order to learn all these strategies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then number two, I realized I could really help a lot more people by creating videos, ebooks, e-guides, and just a whole program that's user-friendly in order to, in a sense, apply all the strategies that we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I went ahead and I created the Cancer Cleanse program. So now this is kind of like, to some degree, like a prerequisite for people. If they're coming to me and they have issues related to toxicity and nutrient deficiencies, before I start working with them, I want them to do 3 months following the Cancer Cleanse program, because you know what? 80% of the time, they're going to get better by following the program.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then they won't need to necessarily consult with me and work with me. Some people may, right?
Mm-hmm.
Without a doubt. Some people still do. But, this way they're able to really get on a program that's going to get them results, or at least get them started in the process of getting the long-term results for a fraction of the cost.
I like that.
Yeah, we put a link to that in the chat, and we'll link it to our show too, because it looks like you guys have amazing things going on.
That's really cool.
Helping a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. We're really excited about it. We've had a lot of people sign up for the program, just hearing great things from, already have a couple great testimonies. So it's awesome.
Killer.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thanks, Doc, for your recipes, for your knowledge, for what you're doing out there and putting together this cancer program and all that stuff, man. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, it's an honor and a privilege to be on with you guys. And sorry about my dog and now the landscaper outside, if you heard him.
Just another day. It sounds like our life every day.
No, that happens. Right. That happens.
That's right. This is real time.
Exactly.
That's right. Well, yeah, we're just so and just want to support you so much no matter what you're doing, because I just see the level of quality of the videos you produce and your heart and helping people. And I just know you're in it for the right reasons. And, we talk to a lot of people on our show, and, sometimes people, you can kind of get a weird vibe from them, or not really sure what's going on, where their motivations lie. But, with you, I can tell that you've got a whole clinic there in Atlanta, and this is what you do all day. And I like supporting people like you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Justin. And, it's an honor and a privilege to be on your show. And, again, congratulations on 10 years of marriage, guys. And on, what was it, 440th show? Is that what you said?
404.
404.
404.
Crazy.
That is awesome.
Thank you.
that right there is just a testament to the kind of content you guys put out, that you're able to have 404 shows and the kind of listener base that you have, because you guys are high integrity. You walk the walk, and you just really do a great job connecting with, I feel so at home talking to you guys on here and just connecting with the guests and really providing, again, just incredible content. So
thanks.
Your listeners are all very blessed by you guys.
Thanks,
Thank
Doc.
you. Yeah. 10 years ago today, when we got married on the beach, I wouldn't have seen this one coming.
I know, right?
Did we think we'd be doing this? But I wouldn't trade it for the world.
I was into raw food, and still huge into raw food, but it's not my only sort of way I eat. But yeah, back then I was into raw food, and UK just didn't want anything to do with it. You're living the life of high carb, pizza,
high
pasta.
wine and pasta diet. It's been incredible.
Oh man.
Wouldn't trade it.
That's awesome.
Well,
thanks, Doc. So if people want to find out, your website is drjockers.com. And like I was saying earlier, I recommend people sign up to your newsletter list, because that way they can stay up to date with your programs and the courses you have coming out, because you're coming out with a bunch of stuff almost every year, right?
Yeah, we're actually working on 4 big programs. So we've got our cancer cleanse program. We're also going to have a sugar detox program, which is going to be like, in a sense, a starter program. Somebody that wants to lose weight, wants to make some basic changes in their nutrition. We have a sugar detox program with a meal plan, recipe plan, videos, exercise plan, things like that. Also, we get a lot of people that want to go deeper with things like the ketogenic diet. So we're going to have a whole ketogenic diet course, and then a leaky gut program, which is going to be more specific to people that are dealing with leaky gut and chronic inflammation in their gut. And these are typically, my program is very advanced for that. So it's usually with people that have tried other things in order to heal their gut. Maybe they've taken probiotics for a long time. They've tried fermented foods. They've tried going gluten-free. And so we're going to be rolling that out. I only roll it out twice a year. We're going to be rolling that out again in January.
Nice.
And new and improved. So, yeah, those are our 4 major programs that we have.
That's really good to know, because a lot of things with this ketogenic diet, you hear these buzzwords and you go online and there's so much confusing information. It's great to have a resource to be able to go right to and just learn a lot more about how to go about something like a gut healing or a ketogenic diet. Some resource you can trust. So thanks for putting that out.
You're welcome. I mean, we just try to meet my listeners' needs. And so all the frequently asked questions that I'm getting and things that I'm doing over and over and over again, if I can create a program that's going to work for, 80 to 90% of the people that I'm working with, and I can create a program that gives them everything they need at a lower cost, then I know I can influence more people and see more people get healthy. And that's really the way that we look at it.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
Amen.
I love it. All right. Well, hang on the line there, Doc. We're going to close out our live show. I want to thank everyone for joining us here at extremehealthradio.com/live. Make sure to go over to drjockers.com. We'll put a link to his website on this show page as well as in the chat room. And this show page, if you want to grab the show notes of all the different things that we talked about, the cancer cleanse, as well as all the different reference materials, books, and things that we talked about during the show, you can go to extremehealthradio.com. / what are we at, Kate?
404.
404. So yeah, this is episode 404. So you can grab the show notes there and pass this show on to your friends too, if you can. We'd greatly appreciate it. I know Dr. Jockers would appreciate that, and we would appreciate that. So if you know anyone who has cancer or wants to do a cleanse or wants to learn more about this type of information,
or wants to make brownies,
man, that alone is enough.
We got people talking in the chat room. It's all a buzz.
I know, right? So we would appreciate that. All of us would appreciate that. And that's how we continue our work. So feel free to share the show with your friends on Facebook or anywhere else. Kate, why are you laughing?
I'm just laughing because those brownies are like on my mind. I'm going to have to go get this stuff to make them.
Oh my gosh. And the recipe's right there?
Yeah, we're going to do this for our anniversary. We'll make brownies. We'll have a brownie date.
We'll have a brownie party tonight. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it so much. And we'll catch you guys on the next episode. All right. So Dr. Jockers, there you go. Done in the can, as you say. I love that guy. Yeah, he's cool, isn't he?
He's awesome.
Yeah, I like him a lot. He's really doing some cool things.
He's really doing some awesome stuff. I just think it's so cool that there's so many people in this world that we've talked to that approach cancer just out of a lack of fear. Yeah, I guess fear is just the word to sum it up. But yeah, I mean, it sounded crazy. I remember when I was going through my pancreas stuff at the beginning when my numbers were all off and we were a little concerned about that. And we met some friends of ours for dinner at a paleo place. Oh, yeah, yeah. And it was suggested by my doctor at the time to do a colonoscopy to make sure I didn't have other issues going on up there. And I remember talking to them and Jason said, well, why would you want to do that? And I go, why would I want to get a colonoscopy? It's what my doctor said, I should probably, and I was in the health world at this point. Yeah, I know. But right? I thought, I think it's kind of good to know what's going on in there to do this testing because God knows what's lurking, Right. And when he said that, he's like, oh, I don't know. I mean, what's it going to change? What's that diagnosis? What if you actually have a diagnosis? What is that going to change for you? Right. And at first I thought, well, that's kind of offensive. That sounds kind of crazy. He might be just too airy-fairy, go with the flow, just trust that. But he's a logical guy, that guy. He is a logical guy, but I still felt like I didn't quite, it kind of didn't sit well with me, but it caused me to really deal with that question and wrestle with it and grapple with he's right. What would that mean? And I didn't end up getting the colonoscopy, which in this case was totally unnecessary. kind of pieced together some other things that were really going on, saved myself a ton of money.
Right.
I'm not saying there's not a time to get a colonoscopy, but for me, it was not that time. And then we've talked to so many guests since that have talked about potential risks involved, that your regular doctor's really not going to tell you. But my doctor's office, they looked at me cross-eyed, and it really shamed me into not responding and actually canceling the appointment 3 days before.
Oh yeah, that was right. That was our doctor in town, right?
Yeah.
And then she tried to call you. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
She tried to call you and to tell
Scare
you that
me
you
into
need
going and saying I was making a poor decision. And I mean, it was pretty insane, actually.
Yeah.
So I just love this approach. And I'm saying this because when I was able to look at it without feeling hurried, because that's what I take away from the conversation today. If people are putting pressure on you and you're feeling really hurried to make a spontaneous choice and not understand all your options, or even I hadn't talked to a natural doctor at that point who said, that doesn't sound like a necessary thing when you have this going on with your pancreas. It's like a different system.
Oh,
it was almost like...
You mean you did talk to someone who said that?
No, I did after the fact. Wow, we lost a plant back there.
Lost a plant. All right, there you go.
No, it was just really refreshing, though, to have someone say that after. I ran it by my naturopath after and said, I decided not to get this test done. And he goes, yeah, that wouldn't really make much sense, would it? Like what you're dealing with, it's just a different, that's not the first test I would recommend for this. Let's try other things first. Keep an eye on your blood, do this kind of stuff. And to me, that was just so refreshing because there wasn't this panic-driven fear mode.
Yeah, it's like when you go to a doctor, it's almost like, or I should say a conventional doctor, it's almost like going to webmd.com. And it's like and WebMD is almost, well, I don't know if WebMD is worse, but it's pretty far up there. Like you just get fear so much, like you feel it viscerally in your gut when you think,
do.
Oh my gosh, I've had a cough for 3 weeks. Do I have
mold in my brain? It's gone to my brain.
I have lung cancer, it's like, anything can be a symptom of, but most likely it's nothing. And it's just your body is, amazing. Like if you have diarrhea for a couple days or 3 or 4 days, you think, I could have colon cancer, but really your body's probably just trying to regulate itself, and your body knows infinitely what it's doing.
It is infinitely wise.
Yeah. And,
I just really value people like him doing that work to remind people that our body is it's looking out for our best interest. I mean, it really is.
I like Dr. Jockers. He's really cool.
Really knowledgeable, cool guy.
Good guy. So if you want to go check out the 15-day cancer cleanse, you can go to extremehealthradio.com/cancer cleanse and check out his program. And if it resonates with you and it's something that you want to try out and do, you can do that. That's about it, right, Kate?
I'm going to go make some brownies. Not at this moment. But
do we have all the ingredients for those?
No, we need to go get a few things.
What are the ingredients?
Let me see it. Let me bring it up here.
That sounds good.
1 cup of soft raw coconut butter.
Okay.
A half a cup of softened coconut oil.
Okay.
Half a cup of raw. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the fudge. I've moved on to the fudge.
Oh.
This is fudge.
Oh, I see how you work.
Cacao powder, pink salt, and then honey, raw honey, vanilla extract, and stevia. Let me bring out the brownies really quick because we won't be able to rest until we have the brownies.
That's right.
They look amazing. They had almond flour in them, which can be a little hard on some people's digestion.
A little bit of a challenge.
Hold on. Let's look at this. Okay, here we go. Coconut fudge brownies. Oh, my computer's going into sleep mode. Hold on.
Uh-oh. Sleep mode.
2 tablespoons of coconut flour, half a cup of grass-fed butter, 2 tablespoons of coconut oil, 3 pasture-raised eggs, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 25 drops of chocolate stevia,
Ooh.
1 pinch of pink sea salt, chocolate chips, and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. And then optional ingredients are organic honey or grade B maple syrup instead of stevia.
I like that.
Holy McMoly.
Holy McMoly.
So everybody check out the recipe section. It does look phenomenal.
We'll put a link to that particular, recipe right on Dr. Jockers' website.
Bring it on.
Yeah.
My computer's about to go into sleep. I think that's a wrap.
That's a wrap, people. All right. So I want to also thank you guys for your support. You'll see typically in our videos in the top left and right corner, links to our Amazon store or links to our web store on our website and places to donate on Patreon. So we thank you guys. We really do appreciate your help and your support. So, and also share this video with your friends, pass it on to your friends, talk about it with your friends. What else?
Sell it to your friends. Try to make a buck. However you can do that.
Whatever works. But we appreciate you guys. So thank you so much. This is episode 404, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode.
Hey, everybody. This is Josie, Justin's mum. Don't tell him, but I know he would absolutely be really happy if you would sign up to his free weekly newsletter. And don't forget to share this with all your friends. This is the buzzing bumblebee signing off.
Oh my gosh.
No material on this blog is intended to suggest that you should not seek professional medical care. Always work with qualified medical professionals, even if you educate yourself in the field of live food, nutrition, and alternative medicine. I'm not a doctor, nor am I offering readers medical advice of any kind. None of the information offered here should be interpreted as a diagnosis of any disease, nor an attempt to treat or prevent any disease or condition. While information in this blog is discussed in the context of numerous conditions, it can be dangerous to take action based on any information in this blog or to start any health program without first consulting a health professional. The content found here is for informational purposes only and is in no way intended as medical advice, as a substitute for medical counseling, or as a treatment/cure for any disease or health condition, and nor should it be continued as such. Always work with a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to your diet, prescription drug use, lifestyle, or exercise activities. This information is provided as is, and the reader/viewer assumes all risks from the use, non-use, or misuse of this information.